Welcome to Monday Morning Dharma on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Why don't we go ahead and settle in for some meditation? The definition of meditation is a mind that focuses on a virtuous object and is the main cause of inner peace. So please give yourself permission to feel good about the wisdom that has guided you to this activity that is the main cause of inner peace. Now is not the time to reflect on events that have occurred in the past. Those events cannot be changed, undone, or recreated. Nor is this the time to speculate about events that may or may not occur in the future. The future is unknown to us at this time. Now is the time to be fully present here in this moment. Now is the time to give yourself full permission to enjoy engaging in a practice that is going to bring you inner peace, that will be planting the seeds of inner peace, and thus creating the causes for the experience of a peaceful world. Please gently transition into meditation on the inner body and become aware of sensations within your inner body. All that is asked of you is to silently observe and allow a more tranquil, awakened state of awareness to emerge. One of the most important and profound insights to be had from this meditation is you have the direct experience of the fact that your body and your mind are not separate. As you know, your consciousness is not confined to the envelope of your skin. And because your body and your mind are not separate, this necessarily means that your body is also not confined to the envelope of your skin. So, very gently, I'd like you to observe sensations just beyond the envelope of your skin, perhaps a few inches beyond the envelope of your skin, and just silently observe for a few moments. And allow your body mind to gently expand until it gradually fills up the space within the room that you're occupying, allow your body mind to expand further until it fills up the entire building that you're occupying. Allow your body mind to expand further down into the earth, up into the sky, ever outward, gently and gradually, beyond the atmosphere of this planet, beyond the atmosphere of neighboring planets, ever outward until your body mind consumes and mixes inseparably with all of space, pervading space. This is the Dharmakaya, the truth body. For the last couple of moments of our meditation this morning, please just rest in your home, the truth body. Now, please redirect your awareness. Become aware again of this collection of parts we've agreed to label physical body, and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of physical body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you're occupying. Deeper and deeper breaths, becoming aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. We dedicate all of the merit from this morning's meditation to world peace. May this parched region of southwest New Mexico soon come to enjoy gentle, sustained, nourishing rains. May anywhere in the world that is in need of moisture soon come to enjoy gentle, sustained, nourishing precipitation. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Excuse me, and welcome back. So, in the book In Love with the World, we are on the chapter of Milarepa, and a discussion of Milarepa, the life of Milarepa, would not be complete without a discussion of, maybe not a discussion, but at least a nod to Marpa, Milarepa's teacher, his spiritual guide. And no discussion of Marpa would be complete without a discussion of guru reliance. And as is so often the case, um, serendipitously, almost miraculously, I was rereading one of my very favorite texts. It's called The Way of the White Clouds, A Buddhist Pilgrim in Tibet by Lama Govinda. And just like right before this class, I read the chapter, I opened into the chapter of the Guru's vision in a lovely, lovely story about Lama Govinda's spiritual guide. I'd like to share a little bit of it with you now. The Lama Nawang Khalsang had been meditating for 12 years in various caves and retreats in the wilderness of the mountains of southern Tibet. Nobody knew him. Nobody had heard of him. He was one of the many thousands of unknown monks who had received his higher education in one of the great monastic universities in the vicinity of Lhasa. And though he had acquired the title of Geshe, which Geshe is a title given to someone who has kind of gotten the equivalent of their Doctor of Divinity. And though he had acquired the title of Geshe, he had come to the conclusion that realization can only be found in the stillness and solitude of nature, as far away from the noisy crowds of marketplaces as from the monkish routine of big monasteries and the intellectual atmosphere of famous colleges. The world had forgotten him, and he had forgotten the world. This was not the outcome of indifference on his part. On the contrary, because he had ceased to make a distinction between himself and the world. What actually he had forgotten was not the world, but his own self, because the world is something that exists only in contrast to one's own ego. Wild animals visited him in the caves and made friends with him, and his spirit went out in sympathy to all living beings. Thus he never felt lonely in his solitude and enjoyed the bliss of emancipation born out of the exalted visions of dhyana. And dhyana is a state of deep meditative absorption. Okay. One day, a herdsman in search of new grazing grounds had lost his way in the inaccessible wilderness of rocks high above the valley when he heard the rhythmic beats of a damaru. And a damaru is kind of a ritualistic implement, kind of a little drum, a kind of a handheld drum. When he heard the rhythmic beats of a damaru, mingled with the silvery sound of a ritual bell. At first, he didn't believe his ears because he couldn't imagine that any human being could exist in this forbidding place. But when the sound came again and again, fear filled him, because if those sounds had no human origin, then they could only have some supernatural cause. Torn between fear and curiosity, he, the herdsman, he followed the sound as if drawn by the irresistible force of a magnet, and soon he saw the figure of a hermit seated before a cave, deeply absorbed in devotional practice, not unlike Milarepa himself, I would say. The hermit's body was lean but not emaciated, and his face serene, lit up with the fire of inspiration and devotion. The herdsman immediately lost all fear and asked the hermit, after the hermit had finished his invocations, he confidently approached the Lama and asked for his blessing. When the hermit's hand touched the crown of his head, he felt a stream of bliss flowing through his body, and he was filled with such unspeakable peace and happiness that he forgot all the questions he had wanted to ask and hurried down into the valley to bring the happy news of his discovery to the people there. These people at first could hardly believe the news, and when the herdsman led some of them to the hermit's cave, they were wonderstruck. How could any living being live in this almost inaccessible mountain fastness? From where did he get his food, since nobody knew of his existence? How could he endure the hardships of winter when the mountains were covered with snow and ice, and even the smallest footpaths were obliterated, so that neither fuel nor food could be obtained? Certainly only a hermit endowed with superhuman yogic powers could survive in such conditions. The people threw themselves at the feet of the hermit Lama, and when he blessed them, they felt as if their whole being were transformed into a vessel of peace and happiness. It gave them a foretaste of what every human being can attain when they realize the dormant powers of light, which are buried like deep seeds within their soul. The Hermit Lama merely made them participate in the bliss of his own achievement so that they might be encouraged to follow the same path toward liberation. So, isn't that a beautiful notion? He did, and all he wanted to do was share with others what he had come to experience, to actualize. That's it. It's just about sharing. That's the role of the guru or the hermit lama. The rumor of the wondrous hermit spread through the valleys like wildfire, but alas, only those who were strong enough could venture to climb up to the hermit's cave. And since there were many who were thirsting for spiritual guidance, the people of the valley implored the Lama to settle among them for the benefit of all who needed his help. The hermit knew that the hour had come for him to return to the world of people, and true to his bodhisattva vow, He renounced the bliss of solitude for the welfare of many. And I'll stop with the story there, with that beautiful example of bodhicitta, the bodhisattva, hermit Lama. I found that, as I mentioned in our class a week ago, Monday, that guru reliance, guru devotion is like, for me, it was sort of the hardest, the hardest practice to get traction on. It took me a long, long time. And as I said a week ago, it's just within the last year, I feel like I've started to get a taste of it and started to get the hang of it. And I'm not really sure how I got to the place of starting to get traction, but for those of you who are new to this ocean of this notion of reliance on the spiritual guide, or ocean of the reliance on the spiritual guide, I would just offer this for your consideration. And that is to invite you to think about the fact that when we sleep, when we sleep and dream, the dream seems so real to us. When we're sleeping and having a dream, the dream world is real, right? These figures, these dream figures that appear in these dream environments that manifest, we regard them as being absolutely real. And we're living the same way. We're living the same way during our waking life. We are going around, stumbling around, living our lives in this dreamlike state, trying to experience happiness and to free ourselves from suffering. Yet the waking world exists in a very, very similar way. This dream that we're having is the dream that we think that the world exists out there separately and independently from ourselves. That's the dream that we're having, and that's where all the problems arise. And really, I would appeal to us to really take this in. This dream that we're having is exactly the opposite of the way in which the world really exists. We think that the world is out there, separate and independent from us. But in fact, the world is a projection of our mind. We create the world with our mind. But we're wandering around in this dreamlike state thinking exactly the opposite is true. It's out there and I'm here and they're separate and distinct. Yes, yes, we need a spiritual guide to help us not only see this confusion, the mother of all forms of ignorance, the ignorance from which all of our difficulties arise. Yes, we need somebody to help us wake up from this nightmare of samsara that we've created with our mind. Just a couple of things more that I want to share. And one is that the spiritual guide is not someone who explains to us how to do it. The spiritual guide shows us how it's done, provides an example of how to live this liberated state of nirvana. It's not just telling us how to do it, it's showing us how it's done. That's why we need a spiritual guide. At some point, we'll get to a point where we need a spiritual guide to show us how it's done, in addition to explain to us the teachings, the Dharma. The other thing is, and we're at 9 o'clock, but just my personal experience is that guru reliance on the spiritual guide, is inextricably linked to our direct experience of interconnectedness, non-duality. There's a symbiotic relationship between the relationship with the spiritual guide and the experience of non-duality, of interconnectedness. The more the deeper my experience of interconnectedness, the more I am able to see that my mind is not separate from the guru's mind. And the more I can experience that interconnectedness with the mind of the guru, the better I'm able to experience and actualize my dharma of interconnectedness. Do you see? It's the blessings of the guru that enable me to experience interconnectedness. And it's through this interconnectedness, the experience of non-duality, that I'm able to experience the interconnectedness, the non-duality of my mind and the guru's mind, the collective consciousness, the one. So I guess the moral of the story is keep meditating on interconnectedness. And the way we do that is through meditation on the inner body. We have a direct experience of the interconnectedness of body and mind. Other forms of interconnectedness, non-duality, will emerge. Our suffering will decrease. The dream will cease. This confusion, the ignorance will decrease. And we wake up. We wake up from the dream we're having. There it is, you guys. That's a part of it, scratching the surface, but that's all I've got, and that's all I've got time for. Grace, have a wonderful, safe trip. You guys have a great week. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. You're most
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.